Hey, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Was working with my sales guys today, and they seem to have forgotten something, that the more they talk, the less money they make. So I made this video for you, okay? The more you explain, the less they buy. Make sure you like and subscribe. Check us out at Universal Accounting Center. Hey, grab your pencil and paper. We're gonna go through 10 lessons today. All right. Lesson 1 is the human mind does not seek truth. Okay, it seeks certainty. This is the first mistake almost every accountant makes. They believe prospects are attempting to discover the objectively correct answer. They aren't. The prospect is attempting to reduce uncertainty. You hear me talk about it all the time. These are radical different objectives. If human beings sought truth above all else, guys, nobody would smoke, nobody would overspend, nobody would procrastinate, and definitely not stay in bad business. But here's the thing, that data exists, the information exists, the truth exists, yet human behavior remains unchanged. Why? Because behavior follows certainty, not truth. So the first job of a salesperson is not to educate. The first job of a salesperson is to create certainty. So let's go to level 2. And certainty that buying this will work, okay, in the future. Let's go to level 2. Lesson 2. The title of lesson 2 is Information and Belief are completely different things. What does that mean? For me, I feel like the modern world confuses information with persuasion, and guys, they're not related. A person can understand something completely and still reject it. A business owner can fully understand their numbers and still refuse to change. A smoker understands smoking. An overweight person understands nutrition. A prospect understands accounting. Understanding is rarely the issue. It's the belief. It's the belief, all right? Most accountants are trying to win an intellectual argument, right? And the prospect is making an emotional prediction about the future. So you got two different things going on. And most of the time, when people are talking to each other, just notice in your conversations. Like, it's almost like you're always having two different conversations. So you got to figure out how to speak to each other. All right, let's go to lesson 3. The brain punishes complexity. All right? That is the reason your firm can't grow, is because you're not speaking to them. So look at it like this. For you as the accountant, you see complexity as sophistication. But understand that the prospect sees complexity as danger. So every layer of explanation creates another potential point of failure. The prospect unconsciously asks, hey, what if this doesn't work? What if I misunderstood? What if I choose the wrong accountant? What if I waste my money? What if this actually becomes a headache? So the moment that the complexity increases, perceived risk increase. Okay? It's just how it works every time. And the moment perceived risk increases, write it down. Action decreases. Action decreases. All right? Let's go to lesson 4. Lesson 4. Level 4, right? No. Lesson 4. Hey, write this down. This is the title. The smartest people often communicate the worst. Okay, I think about my dad. He's one of the smartest people I've literally ever met. It probably is the smartest. And boy, he either wouldn't talk, or when he did, man, it was hard to communicate with him. So I'll say this. Understand this. It is cruel. It's one of the cruelest paradoxes in business, okay? The more expertise someone accumulates, the harder simplicity becomes, because experts become attached to nuance, okay? They become attached to completeness. They become attached to accuracy. And guys, you have to understand, like, ruthless with yourself, tolerant with others. Shout out Marcus Aurelius. But the prospect wants none of those things, right? The prospect wants clarity. The greatest communicators in history were not information rich. They were clarity rich. And that's a difference. All right? Let's go to lesson 5. I keep wanting to call them levels now. Lesson 5. I'll write this down. The title of lesson 5 is every sale, underline, is a future prediction. It's that simple. And for me, it's probably the most important lesson in this entire video. Nobody buys what exists today. Okay? People buy what they believe tomorrow is going to look like. So think about that. The prospect is not purchasing your bookkeeping or advisory. They're purchasing a future with fewer surprises. Just common sense wise. So they aren't purchasing your tax. They aren't purchasing your bookkeeping. They're purchasing a future with more control. They aren't purchasing tax again. They are purchasing a future with less financial pain. Every sale is a prediction market. The advisor who creates the clearest future vision usually wins. So start talking about what your services can do for them if they use them in the future. Sell the transformation. All right, lesson 6. Experts fall in love with process. What does that mean, right? Prospects fall in love with outcomes. Experts admire mechanics and buyers admire destinations. Think about that. Like, I don't even need to go into detail about it. Let me say it again. It's such a beautiful line, okay? Just think about this. Experts admire mechanics and buyers admire destination. So what do I mean by that? The accountant talks about implementation, reporting, workflow system, methodology. Prospect doesn't even care. The prospect cares about growth, control, confidence, profit, freedom, peace of mind, right? And the advisor or accountant discusses the bridge. Well, the buyer cares about the darn island. All right? Just think of shout out to the legendary Brian Tracy. Did a seminar once, and he said in the seminar that a lot of travel agencies will sell the leg room on the airplane, the seat, the flight, but the great vacation people that sell I can't think of what they're called. The vacation people, the travel destinations, they sell the resort, they sell the island, they sell the beach, they sell the fish, they sell the food. So they sell the experience, the outcome, right? They sell the destination. So remember, I don't want to discuss the bridge. I want to talk about the island. All right, let's go to lesson 7. So people buy stories because stories simulate reality. Write that down. People buy stories because it simulates reality. And here's the other thing. You learn best from stories. It is what it is. So you got to get good at telling stories in your sales presentation. Look, facts are analyzed, stories are experienced. This distinction matters. When you explain a service, the prospect evaluates. But when you tell a story, the prospect imagines. And imagination creates emotional rehearsal. The prospect mentally lives inside the outcome. This is infinitely more persuasive than explanation because belief requires experience and stories provide simulated experience. All right, let's go to lesson 8. Most objections are not objections. I think if you're watching my videos, you're closing more deals than ever, but I do talk about this often. All an objection is uncertainty. It's just like, think of a radio antenna signaling, hey, sir, they're uncertain. So think about how often a prospect says, I need to think about it. It's like, think about it. Think about what? Right? Most cannot even articulate what they're thinking about. Just ask them. So when you say you need to think about it, what is it exactly that you need to think about? Right? and they don't even know because they aren't thinking. They're feeling uncertainty. The statement is often a symptom, not a reason. Elite advisors diagnose uncertainty and average salespeople fight objections. You got to get good at that. All right, let's go to lesson number 9. The highest level of selling is not influence. It is risk removal, okay? The greatest accountants never push. Might mention, but don't push. Whose business is it? Theirs, right? But what you got to get good at is de-risk. You have to learn how, and yes, de-risk. I may have made a word up, don't care. De-risk. You need to learn how to de-risk. So every question, every story, every case study, every example, every recommendation, it should accomplish one objective. I need to reduce their uncertainty. I need to reduce their perceived risk, reduce fear. The sale happens automatically when uncertainty falls below critical threshold. It is what it is. Lesson number 10. All right? Guys, the best communicators compressed. Most people believe intelligence is expansion. Elite communicators understand intelligence. We need to compress, okay? It's compression. Anybody can make something more complicated. Think about it. It's not hard, right? Very few people make something simple. I know when I'm talking with people, I try to talk down to 2-year-old level. Dumb it down. The easier, the better. The highest level advisor can explain. And just think about it. Attack strategy, growth strategy, financial strategy, business strategy, in the language a 20-year-old, 12-year-old understands. Okay? Not because they know less, because they understand more. True mastery compresses. So the dumber I sound in explaining this, the better. Not with your language and your words. Don't be a fool. okay, with explaining the systems and how you're going to do things and how you're going to improve their business. That's how you have to do it. You have to understand the greatest mistake professionals make is assuming that the purpose of communication is transferring information. It's actually not at all. I don't know what this would be. It's actually not at all, okay? The purpose of communication is helping another human being become move confidently toward a better future. And the moment you understand that, the moment you stop sounding like an accountant explaining services and start sounding like an advisor shaping decisions. So listen, I wish you guys the best on your next sales call. Hey, make sure you like and subscribe. What are you doing, right? This video is easily worth $7,000. Could be put in a sales training. Hey, have a good one. We'll see you in the next.